Paula, you did it again. Well done. We are so blessed with so many talents here in the service. Very exciting. Welcome to OC Grace. This is our first service of the day. We have this vision. We want to be an authentic expression of what? Good. We're going to keep doing this every single week. The kingdom of heaven. I want you to notice the lights are on. It wasn't an accident. We want to continue working on, we want to give you more than just a service every week. We want to have you be able to take some of these notes home and study them throughout the week. And so what we've been working on is we have these little, how many of you saw these folders when you walked inside today? You walked out, yeah, a couple of us. And in bulletins, you've got these. Y'all see these? Good. Pull them out real quick. Pull these out. These are sermon notes. And as we move through different concepts, many of you will ask me throughout the week, hey, what did you mean by this? Or I wish I had something that I could bring home that I could study a little bit more. This is what this is. And if you want, we have our own little notebooks over there that you can grab. It would be awesome if you could leave a little donation. They weren't free. But if you want to take one free, that's okay too. But it would be nice to get a little donation so we can make more of these. But put these inside here and continue gathering them. And at the end of the series, you'll have a whole notebook full of really good notes. Exciting? Yeah, let's see how we do today with this. Put this down carefully because a lot of love and time was spent on that. We just finished reimagining the gospel, and I had just a great time talking about what the gospel message is. It's not just simply reassurance for a golden ticket. The gospel message is this beautiful reality, this beautiful picture of how to live in a new kind of life, a new reality right here, right now. And so we're moving into a new series, Words. I love words. I love the ancient words because they all have a lot of depth to them. How many of you have ever heard someone say something like this? I love my mom. But then they'll turn around and say, and I love pizza. And your mom's like, pizza or me, baby? Choose. What do you love? I hate racism. I hate LA traffic. Are they the same? There might be an argument. I don't know. We carelessly use words. But words have deep, profound meaning when you study the ancients and how they wrote. Every word has a lot of level and a lot of meaning to them. They're really rich with layers. That's why I love studying them. And so when you look at one word, you can look at a word for like a day. The rabbis would argue back and forth. Well, this is what this means. And so when translators, when they look at different words and they're translating the Bible into a certain translation, into Scripture, what you have is they'll have to pick and choose different words because words have so many meanings. And so oftentimes they'll choose one and we think later on we'll look at it and say, it's good, but what about this? And we'll look at the translations and they mean so much more. And so today we start this series, and this is just one of my passions, looking at words. But before we do, we're going to look at a word called shalom. And before we move into this teaching called couples dating, shalom, and 3 layers of peace, let me pray with you. Lord, thank you for letting us come together here like this. We resemble community. We look more and more like the kind of community you want us to be. Lord, we thank you that we don't have to call you down here. You're already here. You've been present with us all week. And Lord, as we study these words and these layers, may our understanding of the Scriptures open up. May we see it on such deeper levels. May we rejoice in this beautiful gift we have called the Bible. Thank you, Lord. In your name we pray, amen. How many of you have ever had a relationship or a thing or a hobby not fit? You tried making the thing work, but it didn't work. Anyone? I'm trying to skateboard right now. Some of you have seen this on Instagram and you've been laughing at me. It's rough. Like there's a reason why, like when you're 37, you just don't do that anymore. My beautiful wife tried going down into the pool and hurt her hip a little bit. It's what we do. We're trying. She didn't know I was going to tell that. Now I'm in trouble. We try these different hobbies. We try these different relationships. We tried certain things, and sometimes they just don't work. They don't fit. And we try as hard as we can, but sometimes we just don't have peace with them. For instance, when Danielle and I, when we finished our undergrad at Andrews University, we began to notice all of our friends were leaving. And it was kind of sad. They were all getting married and taking off to these like wild, cool places, like Southern California. And they were all leaving, and we were really sad. And we only had like single friends, and then friends, awkward friends with children. It's me now. And I remember we would hang out with them as a newly married couple, and those couples were great. They were great, except everything revolves around the kids. So I remember sitting there, and I'd be like, okay, your kid's throwing another tantrum. And I had all the answers, of course, because I didn't have kids. I'd be like, well, I would have done this. And I was just frustrated. We loved them, though, and we'd hang out with them. But you can only hang out with them so long, right? You can't hang out with them every weekend. And our single friends, we could tell they felt a little bit awkward when we were, like, kissing each other and making out in front of them. And so we needed some couple friends, right? You need couple friends. And so we said, we got to get some friends. We need friends. We need friends that are in the same place we are, where we can like talk and have conversation. We need friends. How do we get friends? Well, you start dating couples. We call this double dating. The most awkward thing you could ever imagine. No one prepares you for it. Double dates? What a terrible idea. And so I remember Danielle would have a friend, and she'd say, my friend, she's so great, and I think you would like her husband. Oh. Let's go on a double date. Oh, okay. Tony, we need friends. You're right. Let's go on this double date. At the end, there's always the awkward conversation, right? Well, what did you think? Did you like him? Did it work? And the guy were like, oh, did it work? What did you think of Bruce? I'm like, he's not Batman. He's boring. Like, this dude is boring. We talked about train sets and like taxes. It wasn't a fit, baby. I'm sorry. Jesus destroyed. Like, oh, Tony, come on. And so we kept trying out the different dates. We could try to see which ones took, you know? And I remember once Danielle, her roommate, got engaged, and then she got married. I didn't know the guy from Adam. We just ran in different circles. So Danielle says, hey, this is the one. This is the one for us. This is the one. I said, okay, I think you will like him. You've got to get to know him. Okay, all right, I'll get to know this guy. All right, so we go on our double date, and I'm sitting with him. And we're talking, and again, guys, you know this. Like, I've been on double dates with some of you. I love you. I love you. We've been dating some of you. It's been awesome. But I remember with this individual, I'm sitting there, and all he wants to talk about is one thing. He's only got one thing on his mind. It's not train sets, praise the Lord. But I think it may be worse. It was golf. And I'm like, all right, you love this sport. That's awesome, but I hate it. I hate golf. I would rather be mowing the lawn than playing on it. That's how bad golf is to me. Because most of the time when I hit the stupid white ball, again, a white ball, you're sending it hundreds of yards, thousands, yeah, right? Hundreds of yards. Obviously, I have a very overinflated ego. You send it all this way in this little cup. It's craziness. I usually send mine off into the other fairway. I spend more time with the other group ahead of us than I do my own team, my own group. I guess you don't call them teams. What are they? They're your group, your homies, your golf partners, whatever it is. I could tell after like months and months of going golfing with this guy. He even gave me his clubs, and he bought new ones. This guy was invested in the relationship. I had to buy a bag, but he gave me all these new clubs. So I'm trying my best. But after 2 months, he finally comes to me. He's like, hey, I think maybe we should try the range. What do you think? I'm like, the range? I'm like thinking shooting, and I'm thinking that's dangerous if you're involved in golf and my temper right now. He says, no, the driving range, you hit the ball, and you go, oh, right, I'll do that, yeah. I'll get some aggression out. No one tells you in golf that the driving range is not where you want to get aggression out. The harder you try to hit it, it doesn't go so far. My club goes further than the ball. And so I'm trying my best, and after like a month of that, my hook, or my slice turns into a hook, nothing is working. He says to me, Tony, he got this look in his eye. I'd seen it before. He went, Tony, I don't think this is working. I looked deep into his eyes. I realized he's breaking up with me. And I said to him, I think you're right. He says, Tony, golf's not your thing. I said, yeah, I know. He said, please don't be offended if I don't ever invite you to golf again. I said, I understand. And the relationship was severed that day. We still did the awkward double dates periodically, but we didn't hang out otherwise. And that was okay, because the thing didn't work, and I had peace with it. And I have to tell you, I had so much peace putting that stupid golf bag in the corner of my garage where cobwebs live, because that's where that thing belongs. But he had so much peace now, he could go out of the golf range, the course. Again, I'm clueless. And he could experience life again. He didn't have to constantly wait for this dork to be picking his ball up and pretending he hit it, but he really threw it, and then pretending he didn't see that. And he had so much peace. And this is the word peace, shalom. Nothing missing, nothing broken. It's when you finally stop the constant struggle and you learn to find contentment. You learn to find peace, shalom. The word shalom here, if you look at this word, it means nothing missing, nothing broken. And this goes way deeper. If you look in your little notes here, write that down. It means nothing missing, nothing broken. There the notes are. Nothing missing, nothing broken. And what I'm learning is shalom goes even deeper than just no war, right? Our politicians like to say that. Oh, if you vote for me, there'll be no more war. Like, yeah, I don't know about that. No more war. It goes way deeper. It's this feeling of wholeness, connectedness, full wholeness, shalom. And the ancients, they understood this. And so they created this list. How many of you have ever seen these before? Yeah, how many of you were beat over the head with these things? Yeah. We were told in an early age that if we keep these, we can be in the process of appeasing God and making him happy. But when you don't keep these, you've made God happy, and now you have to do certain things in order to make him happy again. Or if you don't follow one of these perfectly and a certain time comes, well, you don't get your golden ticket. And we were taught that. And this list becomes an absolute curse. But here's how the Hebrews viewed the Ten Commandments. The Ten Commandments was a perfect picture of what shalom looks like, where nothing is missing, nothing is broken. For the Hebrews, they're a group of people, they're wandering around, trying to figure it out. They just left exile, and they're saying, how do we live in this new reality? We understand God to be different. How do we live in this new reality? What does it look like? And so God gives them this beautiful list of things that when we do these certain things, when we follow these things, we begin to experience wholeness. We begin to experience oneness with God. Do we ever break these? And what are the consequences? Did you get lightning thrown at you? Did you lose your golden ticket? No. Here's what happened. Oneness, you experienced brokenness. You experienced pain that needed repair. And that's where salvation kicks in. Salvation is the process of mini repair, healing that takes us to shalom, where nothing's missing, nothing is broken. Is shalom perfection? No. Shalom is not about perfection. Shalom is a state in which when everything's going on around you, when there are storms, we're able to say this: it is well with my soul. That's shalom, where nothing's missing, nothing is broken. And so this idea of shalom is really heavy, really beautiful. In fact, the Israelites, they wander for 40 years. They wander for 40 years. And the ancients want you to understand something. When they were wandering, they were really poor, weren't they? Did they have everything they wanted? They still did. They got food. They got their water. They got their vino. They got all of this. They had God's protection. But they didn't have everything they wanted, because what we see over and over again is they're not content. For 40 years, they had to wander and learn how to find peace and shalom. And there at the end of this journey, what do they find? Promised land. Shalom, where nothing's missing, nothing is broken. That's the Israelite journey. Now I want to share one more word with you, which I think is really powerful. The word is havlah. Havlah. The word means contentment. You guys ready to get punched in the stomach? No. I love that someone actually said, no, please don't. Here's what this word means. Contentment. Every time shalom is used, there's a word that precedes it. It's havlah. Contentment. So watch this now. In order to experience shalom, where nothing is missing, nothing is broken, we have to experience contentment. Everyone say, oh. In order to experience shalom, where nothing is missing, nothing is broken, oneness with God and community, we have to experience contentment. Ever wonder why Moses doesn't make it to the promised land? Some of you thought promised land was a picture of heaven. That's not the Hebraic understanding. Promised land was shalom. Moses was not content with what God had given them. And because of this, he does not experience shalom. Contentment is so powerful for the Hebrews. Nothing missing, nothing broken. Shalom. I want to ask you a couple of questions. Where in your life are you struggling with contentment? Where in your life are you struggling with being content? Are you feeling unsettled about something? Do you feel you're constantly needing to be satisfied, and so you need more and more and more? Could this be the issue that's robbing you from feeling at one with God and community, with your spouse, with your friends? Contentment. Maybe that's why you just can't quit talking bad about your job. Maybe because you've not learned how to be content where you are. So for the Hebrews, they got this. They understood it. And so they had these layers of understanding. And there were 3 layers of understanding with peace, shalom. Can I share them with you? Yeah, good. I want to share them. The first layer of understanding, and again, these layers go like this. It goes from least to greater to greatest. And it all builds on each other, the layers of peace. And this is the first one. Peace with the world around you. How many of you go to work sometimes and you want to strangle people? Okay. Yeah, Pastor Dan's like, yes, Tony, yes, I do. Every day. No, he's very good. Yeah, you work with these people, and sometimes they frustrate you. You live and you breathe and you go through LA traffic, and sometimes you're like, I don't know how to, and you're so frustrated. How does my Christian journey look when I'm around these people? But the fact is, you don't have to live with those people, do you? You don't have to go home to those people, praise the Lord. But here's the thing that the Hebrews understood. Peace with your world, the environment, your coworkers. If you can't have peace with someone that you're not spending the majority of your time with, if you can't have peace with a stranger that just flipped you off in traffic, if you can't learn to be content and say, we're all getting there at the same time, if we can't learn to be content and at peace with strangers, how in the world are we to be content at home with family and at church? How many of you, after a long day of work, you'll come home, either to your roommates or your spouse, and the first thing you do is you're just like, and you spit out all the stuff about work, about coworkers, about drama, about this, about that. If you were at peace with where you were, and you had contentment, and again, this is the most painful thing in the world for me to say, because it's the hardest thing in the world to do. But if you were at peace there at your occupation, if you could have peace and contentment where you are, then you could actually be talking about things that really matter to you. How was your day, sweetie? Tell me what needs to happen in your life for it to feel really good. What kind of hobbies you have? How have you been growing? You can go to the deeper questions of life rather than go to those superfluous things. So the Hebrews understood we have to learn to be at one with community first, the people around us. Now watch this. Once we get that, layer 2 is this, peace with your family. Here's the problem with family. They know you. They know you. They actually know all about you. And when you pretend, they're like, hey, no. I know you. I know all your deep, dark secrets. And you're being fake right now. You're like, oh. Because family is actually really difficult to get along with sometimes, aren't they? That's why some of you will avoid Thanksgiving is you'll try as hard as you can. Most of you can't get out of it. You'll try. Once I learned to find contentment with my family, with my spouse, there are really ugly pictures we paint of the person we think our spouse should be. The reality is you have this beautiful gift of a wife or a husband, partner, whatever, and they're right there. And you unfortunately cannot be satisfied with them, and it's hurting your relationship. Learn to be content with what you have, the blessings God's given you. Also, this kind of crosses over into church, doesn't it? Church family. And that's not always fun, because we argue over really important things, don't we? Like the color of carpet. It's so important. Whether we should have unleaded or leaded coffee, right? All these really important issues. And so we'll fight and we'll argue, but God is calling us to have peace with one another. Learn to be in community together. Learn to love one another. Show grace and mercy. And this is so hard to do, and I can tell you from experience, it's so hard. But God calls us, once we can learn to be at peace with one another, this is where layer 3 comes in. This is where a church becomes more than just a service. It's where God is revealed through the people that are showing up at one together. I used to lead praise and worship at this Messianic Jewish church, and it was so much fun. I would play this music, and it was usually like contemporary, kind of upbeat kind of music, and I would see all these older people and younger people, they would form a big circle. And before you know it, they were dancing. And sometimes it was so funny, when we weren't playing, they would even put on like hip-hop Christian music. And all these people were just dancing and having a great time. And what I realized is these people are in community. And they're dancing together. And it looks like this beautiful community, Father, Son, Holy Spirit. It looks like community in which we begin to reflect the divine. And we begin dancing with God in community. That's what layer 3 looks like. It adds. You will never get to layer 3 unless you can show up to work and learn to show contentment and love to those people who frustrate you. If you can't have peace there, you won't have peace at home, and you will not have peace at church. And if you can't do that, you will never have peace with God. Peace, shalom, nothing missing, nothing broken. Let me ask you some more really tough questions. Look at layer number 1 again. Where in your life right now, with work, school, the places you travel from day to day, are you experiencing brokenness? Is there a person you need to make things right with? Are there certain lifestyle changes that may have to happen in order to experience peace? Layer 2, are there family tensions that need to be taken care of? Conversations you've been purposely avoiding because you've said things like this. Well, the fact is I just don't care anymore. What a lie, right? I don't care anymore. Obviously, if you're bringing it up, you do care, don't you? Well, it's their move, not mine. Well, you're aware that there needs to be movement, so now you have responsibility in that movement, don't you? Are there things with family we need to take care of to experience shalom? There's some things that you continue to put down at the surface because, well, they're not a big deal. I don't have to deal with them. But the reality is, it must be a big deal because it keeps coming up. What are those things that are keeping you from peace? Are there people in your church that you have offended or that continue to offend you that need to be taken care of before shalom can actually take place? And when we do this, this is when we become a community. This is when we experience shalom. I had a friend call me the other day. She's moving from Washington, and she said, Tony, what's a good church in southeastern California? It's like a pastor's dream. I got an idea. I know of a place. It's right there. I know a place that you might enjoy. And so she says, tell me about your church. It's so rare that you get an opportunity to do that, right? I get to sell my church. I'm like, yes. So I started thinking about church, and I started thinking about this service specifically. And before I wrote, I just kept thinking, and I went back to where it all began, when we moved from Washington to come here to Paradise. And I remember when we got here, I remember it was a smaller group of us. And we had a vision, kind of, but then we started to grow in vision. We started reading books together. We started to grow. Some people left, a bunch more came in. And we continued looking at life groups, and we began to study and pray together. And that vision to be an authentic expression of the kingdom of heaven, it came, and we began to really rally around this. And I saw as a church community began to grow. I saw a service begin to grow. Do you know that this service is one of the fastest growing services in this conference? I asked them the other day. I said, we've grown to this much, and this is our average. They said, oh yeah, you are one of the fastest growing services in this conference. And I thought, that's really beautiful. And I've had people ask me, like, well, what do you do in order to make this happen, Tony? Is it the band? Do you have to have a sweet drummer, which we do? We have many. Do you have to have fog machines? Do you have to have special lights? What do you have to do to make this happen? And I can tell you this right now. It's not about the praise and worship band, even though they're excellent. It's not about how well I do, if I either nail it or sink. Because here's the beauty of that. For the first time in my life, I can stand up here and I could give you a really terrible sermon. But you know what every single one of you are going to do on the way out? You're going to hug me and shake my hand. You're going to be like, we love you, Tony. You might not tell me a great sermon, but you'll say, we love you. We're so glad you're here. That doesn't happen everywhere. And so for the first time in years now, since we've been here, it occurred to me that we have been on this process of learning to love our community, learning to love each other in family and in church. And that is the reason why we're beginning to see growth the way we are. That's the reason why every week we begin to say, God is present in this room. Because we're learning to grow as a community, and that creates oneness, and we see God's presence here. We are dancing with the divine weekly. And when a church community begins to dance with the divine, I have to tell you this, miracles start to happen. We see broken relationships restored. We see people begin to grow in ways they never thought they'd grow before. We begin to see over and over again beautiful repair and restoration. And I'm so proud to be a part of this community. And so my hope and my prayer for you today is that you will continue in this process of peace. You will learn, like Paul, to be able to say, I am content in all things. I've learned to find peace here so that I can have peace here, so that I can be at one with God. During the storms, through the trials, through the joy, through the pain, I am at one with God because I've found oneness with my community, my spouse, my friends, my church. My prayer for you on this Sabbath day is that you will continue to find shalom everywhere you go. You will learn to be content, as Paul says, in all things. May God bless you today on this Sabbath day.